There is a country on earth where a bowl of noodles can make you cry, where a single garden can take 2 centuries to finish, and where a bullet train arriving 30 seconds late is considered a national apology. That country is Japan. The clock strikes 5 a.m. and life ignites. Sushi masters begin slicing fish pulled from overnight markets. Temple bells ring across mist-covered mountains. A Shinkansen glides through the darkness at 300 kilometers per hour, splitting the country in half before sunrise. Welcome to Japan. A nation where contradictions have been elevated into philosophy and where the ancient and the impossible share the same street corner. Few people know that this country sits on the convergence of 4 tectonic plates, experiencing over 1,500 earthquakes every year. Yet from this restless earth, a culture of extraordinary precision has emerged. Every tremor absorbed, every disaster rebuilt, every wound transformed into wisdom. But Japan is a nation of profound duality. While its cities race into the future, the countryside preserves rituals unchanged since the Heian period. The concept of wabi-sabi teaches that beauty lives in imperfection. A cracked tea bowl repaired with gold becomes more beautiful than before. A cherry blossom is precious precisely because it falls. Another thread runs through every corner of this nation: omotenashi, a form of hospitality with no equivalent word in any other language. It means the taxi driver who wears white gloves, the shopkeeper who wraps a simple purchase as if it were a gift for an emperor. And from Osaka's roaring street food stalls to Kyoto's hushed kaiseki dining rooms, every meal carries the fingerprints of a culture that takes pleasure as seriously as it takes precision. This is Japan. Not just a destination, but a complete civilization compressed into islands no larger than California. Let us now wander through its most beautiful and iconic places. Mount Fuji. From every direction, the mountain watches. Rising 3,776 meters above the Pacific coastline, Mount Fuji stands alone, its symmetrical cone so perfectly formed that artists have spent centuries trying and failing to improve upon it. Hokusai painted it 36 times from 36 angles and still felt he had not captured its essence. The mountain is not merely a landmark. For the Japanese, Fujisan is a living deity, a pilgrimage destination that has drawn climbers since the 7th century. Buddhist monks once believed the summit led directly to paradise. Even today, over 300,000 people make the ascent each summer, joining a tradition that predates written history. At dawn, when the sky turns copper and the peak catches the first light before the rest of the country, the mountain radiates a presence that transcends scenery. 5 lakes surround its base, each reflecting a different face of the volcano. Lake Kawaguchiko mirrors the entire mountain in perfect stillness on windless mornings, creating a world where it is impossible to tell sky from water. In winter, snow transforms the slopes into a masterpiece of white and blue. In autumn, red maples burn at the mountain's feet. Each season gives Fuji a different identity, yet the mountain itself remains unmoved, watching civilizations rise and fall with the same perfect equanimity. Kyoto. In the old imperial capital, 17 centuries of culture are preserved in the texture of every wooden wall and mossy stone. Kyoto was spared from the bombs of World War II, and that mercy preserved something irreplaceable. Here, the past is not reconstructed, it's simply continued. The city awakens before dawn when the first lanterns light the stone paths of Fushimi Inari Shrine. 10,000 torii gates climb the mountain in vermilion tunnels, their color the shade of blood and luck, and the space between worlds. At the summit, the entire city lies below, silent in the morning mist. In Arashiyama, the bamboo grove breathes with a sound unlike anything else in nature. When wind moves through the canopy, the stalks knock against each other in hollow percussion, creating a music that has been described as the sound of the earth thinking. The grove is not large, but within it, the world disappears, replaced by green light filtering through 1,000 vertical lines. The Gion district preserves the architecture and traditions of the merchant era. Ochaya, traditional tea houses, line the narrow streets where geisha, known as geiko in Kyoto dialect, move between appointments in the evening. Their white-painted faces and elaborate kimono represent years of study in music, dance, and the art of conversation. To encounter one on a lantern-lit street is to understand why Japan has never stopped believing that grace is the highest human achievement. Kinkakuji, the golden pavilion, floats above its reflection pond with a serenity that makes the mind quiet. 3 floors of different architectural styles culminate in a gold leaf exterior that burns in afternoon sunlight. Crows wheel overhead while tourists stand in silence, not photographing but simply looking, as if something in the scene demands genuine attention. Tokyo's Saigon has its scooters, Bangkok has its tuk-tuks, Tokyo has something else entirely. 8 million people move through the city's train network every day, with a precision that makes clockwork look imprecise. The Shinkansen departs to the second. The average delay across the entire network is measured not in minutes, but in seconds. When a train arrives 30 seconds late, the conductor apologizes over the intercom. The city divides itself into worlds within worlds. In Shibuya, the famous Scramble Crossing releases hundreds of pedestrians simultaneously from every direction, creating a human tide that somehow never collides, governed by an unspoken choreography of consideration. At night, the surrounding screens and signs create a luminous canyon that looks like the future imagined by a particularly optimistic science fiction writer. Akihabara glows with a different light. Multi-story buildings stack electronics, anime merchandise, and gaming culture into towers of obsession. Here, subcultures that the rest of the world discovered online began as physical places where passionate communities gathered before the internet gave them a wider stage. Asakusa preserves old Tokyo in the shadow of the Skytree, Japan's tallest structure at 634 meters. Sensoji Temple, the city's oldest Buddhist temple, founded in 645 AD, draws 30 million visitors annually through the Kaminarimon Gate, its giant red lantern swaying gently in the smoke of 10,000 burning incense sticks. In Shinjuku, the city reveals its nocturnal character. Golden Gai consists of 6 narrow alleys lined with approximately 200 tiny bars, each seating no more than 8 people. In these intimate spaces, strangers become friends over sake and shochu, and conversations drift between languages and lifetimes. Meguro River. In a city of concrete and glass, the Meguro River cuts through Tokyo's Meguro and Shinagawa wards like a vein carrying life through stone. For most of the year, it flows quietly beneath pedestrian bridges, bordered by walkways where locals jog and cycle. But for 2 weeks each spring, the river becomes the stage for one of Tokyo's most breathtaking transformations. Over 800 cherry trees line the 4-kilometer stretch of the Meguro River, their branches arching over the water to form a tunnel of blossoms that seems to deny the existence of the city beyond. When the sakura bloom, the trees erupt in clouds of pale pink and white, their petals so dense they block out the sky. The riverbanks fill with people who walk slowly beneath the canopy, cameras forgotten in their hands, simply moving through beauty that arrives once a year and vanishes in days. At peak bloom, the petals begin to fall. They drift down like snow, landing on the water in thousands of tiny pink boats that float downstream together. The Japanese have a word for this moment: hanafubuki, the cherry blossom blizzard. The surface of the river becomes a moving carpet of petals, and the water itself turns pink with their reflection. In the evening, lanterns illuminate the trees from below, transforming the tunnel into something otherworldly. The blossoms glow against the dark sky, while their reflections shimmer on the black water. Young couples walk hand in hand. Elderly people pause on the bridges, remembering springs they witnessed decades ago. Children chase petals as they spiral down through the lamplight. Nowhere is wabi-sabi more perfectly embodied than here at the Meguro River during cherry blossom season. The crowds gather in silence to watch something beautiful disappear, understanding that its brevity is what makes it precious. The blossoms will fall, the petals will wash away, and next spring, if they are fortunate, they will return to witness it happen all over again. Hiroshima. On August 6, 1945, at 8:15 in the morning, the sky above Hiroshima became white. A single bomb erased 70,000 lives instantly and reshaped the course of human history. The atomic bomb dome survived, its skeleton preserved deliberately as a reminder of what happens when human ingenuity serves human cruelty. The Peace Memorial Park occupies the hypocenter of the explosion. In the early morning, when tourists have not yet arrived, only the sound of river water and birdsong surrounds the cenotaph. The flame of peace burns at the center, lit in 1964 and never extinguished, with the promise that it will not be put out until every nuclear weapon on Earth has been destroyed. The paper crane has become the symbol of Hiroshima's hope. Sadako Sasaki, a young girl who developed leukemia from radiation exposure, believed that if she folded 1,000 origami cranes, she would be granted a wish. She folded more than 1,000. She died at age 12. Children from every country in the world now send paper cranes to Hiroshima, and millions of them hang in colorful curtains around her monument, stirring gently in every wind. Today, Hiroshima has rebuilt itself into a city of gardens, rivers, and genuine peace. Miyajima Island, a short ferry ride from the city, holds the iconic Itsukushima Shrine, its great torii gate rising from the sea at high tide, as if the island itself has placed a gift upon the water. Pop quiz time. Here is your first question. Mount Fuji, Japan's iconic peak, stands at 3,776 meters. But how many times did the great artist Hokusai paint the mountain in his famous series? Was it A, 12 times, B, 36 times, or C, 100 times? Drop your answer in the comments below. We will reveal it later in the video. Nara. Before Kyoto, before Tokyo, there was Nara. Japan's first permanent capital holds a stillness that older cities carry, the quiet of a place that has seen everything and no longer needs to prove anything. The Great Wooden Hall of Todaiji Temple is the largest wooden structure in the world, housing a bronze Buddha 15 meters tall, whose palm alone could cradle a human being. But Nara is known above all for its deer. Over 1,200 Sika deer roam the park freely, their presence explained in ancient tradition as divine messengers. They bow their heads when offered special crackers sold by vendors throughout the park, a behavior learned over centuries of human contact. To walk among them as the autumn maples burn around you is to experience something between a fairy tale and a dream. Kasuga Taisha Shrine lines its stone paths with over 3,000 lanterns, donated over centuries by grateful worshippers. During the Lantern Festival, held twice a year, every lantern is lit simultaneously, transforming the forest paths into rivers of fire that illuminate faces turned upward in silent wonder. Hokkaido. Japan's northern island exists in a different emotional register. Where the rest of the country is dense and layered and intimate, Hokkaido exhales. Wide horizons, undulating farmland, lavender fields that turn entire hillsides purple in July. Nowhere else in Japan does the sky feel so large. The island receives more snow than almost anywhere on Earth. Nisiko's powder draws skiers and snowboarders from Australia, America, and Europe. Its terrain covered in light, dry snow that falls softly even as it buries entire forests. Sapporo's Snow Festival transforms the city each February into an outdoor museum, with ice sculptures the size of buildings carved by teams of artists competing across categories that range from cities to movie characters to abstract forms that catch the winter light. Shiratoko Peninsula, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, preserves wilderness unchanged since the last ice age. Brown bears patrol the riverbanks in autumn, fishing for salmon that push upstream in silver masses. Stella's sea eagles, the largest eagles in the world, wheel above frozen lakes while sea ice drifts through the Okhotsk Sea in formations that look like scattered jade. Sapporo itself offers a particular urban warmth that feels different from the intensity of Tokyo or Osaka. The city's grid layout reflects its Meiji-era planning, and the brewery district preserves the heritage of Sapporo beer, Japan's oldest. Ramen shops here serve a variation based on miso, its rich, salty depth perfectly calibrated against the cold outside. Okinawa. 400 kilometers south of mainland Japan, the culture shifts entirely. The Ryukyu Kingdom, which ruled these islands for centuries before absorption into Japan, left an architectural and culinary heritage as distinct as any in Asia. Shuri Castle, rebuilt after its destruction in World War II, blazes in red lacquer, its design influenced by Chinese architecture but transformed into something entirely its own. The waters surrounding Okinawa hold some of the most biodiverse coral ecosystems in the northern Pacific. Manta rays drift through channels between islands, while sea turtles surface to breathe among boats carrying snorkelers who have come from every corner of the world to float above this underwater garden. The Okinawan people follow a philosophy called ikigai, a reason for being, combined with the practice of hara hachi bu, eating until you are 80% full. These principles have helped produce one of the highest concentrations of centenarians anywhere on Earth. In villages in the northern part of the main island, it is common to meet people in their 90s still tending gardens, still socializing, still finding daily life a source of genuine pleasure. Okinawa soba bears no resemblance to mainland ramen. Its clear broth and thick wheat noodles arrive in bowls topped with slow-braised pork that has been cooked for hours until it trembles at the touch of chopsticks. Awamori, distilled from Thai rice and aged in clay pots, is a local spirit, drunk with ice and water and the slow conversation of people who are in no hurry at all. Kanazawa. On the Sea of Japan coast, sheltered between mountains that protect it from both earthquakes and bombing raids that reshaped other cities, Kanazawa survived the 20th century intact. The result is a city that feels like Kyoto before tourism discovered it, where traditional crafts, samurai districts, and merchant quarters exist without the pressure of international attention. Kenroku-en Garden is considered one of Japan's 3 great gardens. Its name means garden with 6 qualities, combining spaciousness, seclusion, artifice, antiquity, water, and panoramic views in a composition that took over 2 centuries to complete. In winter, workers tie ropes from the tips of pine trees to central stakes, creating geometric shapes that support branches against the weight of snow. And these snow-covered forms, called yukitsuri, have become emblems of Kanazawa itself. The Higashi-Chaya district preserves the tea house culture, where geisha once entertained wealthy merchants. The narrow streets, lined with latticed wooden facades, are quieter than Kyoto's equivalent, and it is possible here to walk alone at dusk and feel the architecture speaking directly to you, without the mediation of crowds. Gold leaf production has centered in Kanazawa for centuries. The city produces 99% of Japan's gold leaf, beating metal so thin it becomes transparent, so light it floats on exhaled breath. This gold appears on temple ceilings, lacquer boxes, ceramics, and in Kanazawa's famous gold leaf ice cream, which arrives in a cone wrapped in a single edible sheet of pure gold. The craftspeople who produce this leaf work in rooms sealed against drafts, their movements slow and deliberate, handling materials so fragile that the air disturbed by a passing hand can destroy an entire morning's work. Pop quiz time again. Here is your second question. Okinawa is famous for producing one of the highest concentrations of centenarians in the world. What is the Okinawan philosophy of finding a reason for being called? Is it A, kintsugi, B, ikigai, or C, wabi-sabi? Drop your answer in the comments. We will reveal it shortly. Hakone. An hour from Tokyo, the city dissolves. Hakone occupies the caldera of an ancient volcano, its hot springs heated by magma still active beneath the surface. The ryokan, traditional Japanese inns, arrange everything around the experience of the onsen bath. Guests arrive, shed their clothes and their city selves, and descend into mineral water that has been rising from the Earth's interior for millions of years. On clear days, Mount Fuji appears above Lake Ashi, framed by the torii gate of Hakone Shrine, rising from the water. The image is so perfectly composed that it seems arranged rather than natural. A painting that has been reproduced so many times, it risks becoming cliché. Yet still, when seen directly, produces an involuntary stillness in the observer. The open-air museum displays sculpture in a landscape calibrated to amplify art's emotional effect. Henry Moore bronzes stand against pine forests. Picasso ceramics occupy a dedicated pavilion. Children run barefoot through an outdoor play installation made of stained glass, their laughter mixing with the sound of wind through sculpture gardens that use the mountain as a backdrop. Nikko. North of Tokyo, in the mountains of Tochigi Prefecture, the Tokugawa shogunate built a monument to itself so elaborate it became its own form of extravagance. The Toshogu shrine complex is covered so thoroughly in gold, lacquer, and carved decoration that it seems to have been conceived by an imagination that considered restraint a form of failure. Yet amid this opulence stands one of Japan's most famous architectural moments. The three wise monkeys carved above a stable door illustrate the principle of Mizaru, Kikazaru, Iwazaru. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. These three small carvings, executed in a single panel among thousands of decorative elements, has become one of the most recognized symbols in the world. The path to the inner shrine passes through ancient cedar trees planted 4 centuries ago, their trunks wide enough to shelter 10 people. Their canopy creates a tunnel of green above stone lanterns, and the sound of running water accompanies every step. In autumn, the mountainside above Nikko catches fire. Red maples and golden ginkgos compete for attention, while waterfalls continue their seasonal work. The famous Keigan Falls drops 97 meters in a single unbroken column, and behind it, a cave allows visitors to stand behind the water and watch the world through a curtain of light. Osaka. If Kyoto is Japan's spiritual capital and Tokyo its administrative one, Osaka is its heart, beating loudly and feeding everyone. The people of Osaka are famous throughout Japan for their directness, their humor, and their absolute refusal to take food casually. Dotonbori, the entertainment district along the canal, announces itself with giant mechanical crabs and blowfish rotating above restaurant entrances, neon signs stacked 5 stories high, and the smell of takoyaki, octopus balls, drifting from 1,000 griddles simultaneously. Osaka Castle has survived war, lightning, siege, and the complete restructuring of Japanese society. It stands in its park like a general reviewing troops, its white walls and green-tiled roofs visible from across the plain. The moat surrounding it is wide enough that the castle appears to float, separated from the modern city by water that has defended it and failed to defend it in equal measure. The Kuromon Ichiba market has operated for nearly 2 centuries. Its covered lanes house over 170 shops and stalls where vendors sell ingredients so fresh they seem still living. Tuna heads the size of television sets hang from hooks. Snow crab legs curve over tables of ice. Vendors offer samples without pressure, their pride in the product speaking louder than any sales technique. At night, Osaka's food stalls and izakayas fill with people who eat standing, sitting on overturned crates, perched on stools so small they seem meant for children. The culture of kushikatsu, skewered and battered meat and vegetables, deep fried in oil, prohibits double dipping in the communal sauce. It is the only food law that carries genuine social consequences. Yakushima Island. 2 hours by ferry from southern Kyushu, Yakushima Island exists in geological time. Its cedar forest contains trees so old that the concept of age loses meaning. Jomonsugi, the oldest cedar on the island, is estimated to be between 2,000 and 7,000 years old. It has been growing since before the pyramids of Egypt were completed. It stands in the forest's interior like a being that has decided to outlast everything. The island receives so much rainfall that local people say it rains 35 days a month. The perpetual moisture creates moss so thick it swallows everything it touches. Ancient cedars disappear beneath green coatings that turn the forest floor into a landscape of rolling curves. The animation studio Ghibli drew inspiration from these forests for the film Princess Mononoke, and to walk among these trees is to walk inside a piece of animation made real. Sea turtles nest on the southern beaches at night, hauling themselves from the sea with the slow determination of creatures carrying evolutionary memory. Research teams monitor their nesting grounds, tracking populations that have declined for decades as development has eroded their beaches elsewhere. On Yakushima, the beaches remain dark at night, the lights of the island deliberately dimmed to avoid disorienting the mothers navigating by starlight. Kyushu's hot springs. The island of Kyushu holds more active volcanoes than any other part of Japan. Mount Aso, in the island's center, contains one of the largest volcanic calderas in the world, its rim wide enough to shelter entire towns and cities within its ancient walls. On clear days, visitors can stand at the edge and look into the smoking crater, the earth actively creating itself in churning blue sulfur gas. Beppu, on Kyushu's eastern coast, releases more hot spring water than any city in Japan, except Yellowstone's equivalent. The city's famous 8 hells, known as the Beppu Jigoku, offer springs of different colors, from the blood-red Chinoike Jigoku to the brilliant blue of Umi Jigoku. These springs are too hot for bathing and exist purely as spectacle, their colors so saturated and their steam so theatrical that they seem staged. The steam itself has shaped Beppu's cooking. Jigoku Mushi, hell steam cooking, suspends food in bamboo baskets above hot spring vents, cooking vegetables, eggs, seafood, and even puddings through thermal energy that costs nothing and tastes of the earth. A simple sweet potato cooked this way and develops a depth of flavor that conventional cooking cannot replicate. Kyoto in autumn. Return to Kyoto now, but in a different season. November transforms the city into a gallery that no museum could afford to recreate. The maple trees, called momiji, shift through a spectrum from yellow through orange to crimson, while the ginkgos turn simultaneously gold. And for 2 brief weeks, the entire ancient city is draped in color that seems almost aggressive in its beauty. At Tofukuji, 2,000 maple trees create a canopy so dense that the bridges crossing the ravine below pass through a tunnel of red and orange. Visitors line the railings, silent in the specific way that people become silent in the presence of something they know they will spend years trying to describe. At Kiyomizu-dera Temple, built into the hillside without a single nail, the wooden stage extends over the valley on pillars 11 meters high. Looking outward from this platform across the maple forest toward the city below, the distance between past and present collapses entirely. Japan reveals itself not as a country divided by time, but as a place where time has been folded, where every season contains every other season, and where standing still long enough means the entire history of the place will eventually pass before you. Concluding this visual journey through Japan, we've moved from the volcanic presence of Mount Fuji to the neon labyrinths of Tokyo, from the ancient cedar forests of Yakushima to the golden temples of Kyoto, from the nuclear silence of Hiroshima to the theatrical abundance of Osaka, discovering not just places but a complete philosophy of living, encoded in every shrine gate and skyscraper and perfectly composed bowl of soup. We hope these images and stories have enriched your knowledge and ignited something in you, a curiosity perhaps, or a specific hunger that can only be satisfied by going there yourself and standing in these places with your own body, breathing this particular air. And for those who have been waiting, here are the answers to our pop quizzes. The answer to the first question is B, 36 times. The answer to the second question is B, Ikigai. How did you do? Tell us in the comments below. Now, before you go, we would love to hear from you. Which destination from today's journey stayed with you the most? Was it the red torii gates climbing Mount Inari at dawn, the ancient deer of Nara bowing for crackers, or perhaps the thought of standing behind Keegan Falls while autumn burns around you? Tell us your answer in the comments. We truly love reading every single one. And here is our big question for you today. Where in the world would you like us to take you next? Another corner of Asia, a hidden European gem, or a destination you have been dreaming about for years? Drop it below, because your suggestions genuinely shape where we go next, and we might just be packing our bags for your recommendation right now. If you enjoyed this journey through the land of the rising sun, do not forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you never miss an adventure. We explore this extraordinary world, one destination at a time, and we want you with us for every single one. Until next time, keep exploring, keep wondering, and keep letting the world surprise you. Safe travels, friends.